Pastor Ansel here, who has just spent the last week really in-depth studying Genesis 6, the sons of God, the daughters of men, and the Nephilim. Who are the Nephilim? A question a lot of people want to know. There's certainly some fantastic and fabulous interpretations of the Nephilim. But who are they? Genesis 6 tells us, it's preparing us for the flood to come. And we read about the sons of God marrying the daughters of men in just the first couple of verses, and that from those marriages they brought forth the Nephilim in verse 4. Context is always important when interpreting Scripture. What is the bigger context here? Well, from Genesis 3 onward here, we're tracing the line of redemption that is going to culminate in the seed of the woman, who is Jesus Christ, who crushes the head of the serpent, the seed of the serpent, who is Satan. And in these early chapters, we've traced the seed of Satan through the line of Cain, which is really representative of the ungodly, the unbelievers, the reprobate, as opposed to the line of the woman, which is the line of Seth, which is where Noah's coming from. These are the godly, the believers, the elect. But what we're finding now in Genesis 6 is that the Christians, the sons of God, have become inflamed with lust for the daughters of men, and they're actually entering into forbidden marriages. Christians are to marry in the Lord. But these sons of God were not marrying in the Lord. They were marrying outside of their religion. And God tells us not to do that because it's going to create stumbling blocks. We see here this marriage ends up in their procreation. They have these Nephilim. It also brings on the flood. So certainly God's not going to flood the earth again as he did before, but nevertheless, the marrying of an unbeliever commits opportunities for stumbling, opportunities for temptation, for idolatry. Look to the life of King Solomon, and we see it quite plainly. But it's through these marriages that their children are the Nephilim. Now, important, Nephilim simply means, which is of course a Hebrew word there, fallen. These are the fallen ones. It doesn't mean giants. It doesn't mean monsters. It doesn't mean demon babies. It simply means the fallen ones. And from the greater context here in chapter 6, we see that these fallen ones are really oppressive tyrants. These are violent men unjustly ruling over other men. We see that especially in Numbers 13, when Israel is to send the spies into the promised land to scope it out. And of course, Joshua and Caleb come back and say, hey, we can do it. We can take them in the Lord. The other cowardly spies used this image of the Nephilim to give a false report, an evil report, to persuade Israel not to go battle. They're scared. And they make up this idea of the Nephilim are there. Well, they're not really there. These Nephilim from Genesis 6 have died out. Although certainly we could call any violent, oppressive tyrant a Nephilim in a sense. But we see that from Numbers 13, that these are violent men ruling. And so that's kind of my simple take, is that the sons of God are the godly, the daughters of men are the ungodly, and they're entering into a forbidden union. And from that union is coming these Nephilim, the fallen ones who fall upon the people and their oppressiveness. So that's not the fantastic interpretation that you sometimes hear, that the sons of God, sometimes we hear that the sons of God are not just angels, but fallen angels. They are demons, they are devils, and they are procreating and entering to marriage with humans, and then they're having these like demon spawns running around. It's very interesting, but I just don't quite see it in the text. Why not? One, we should note the Nephilim were already existing before Genesis 6. Verse 4 says, there were Nephilim on the earth in those days, and also afterward when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. And so this, if they were demon babies, then it would have been nothing new. It would have been actually that the sons of God and daughters of men have been procreating all along. But that's certainly not the case. The Nephilim had existed and they continue to exist. And we see that if we go back to Lamech, go back to Cain. He's a murderer. The seventh generation from him, Lamech is a violent man willing to murder others. Lamech's own son, Tubal-Cain's creating the iron for the swords to be even more brutal and violent. The Nephilim already existed in that line of the daughters of men from the line of Cain. Secondly, just the simple idea, humans cannot procreate with demons. Demons are spirits. They certainly they can become corporeal at times. They eat. We see that with Abraham. But we never see in Scripture that they are having relations with human beings. In Sodom, the humans do want to have relations with the angels, but it never actually happens. And here it's an extraordinary interpretation to say that these spirit demons have taken on human flesh in order to mate with people. Certainly cross species. I don't even know how to begin to think through that. We should also note Matthew 24, Jesus talks about that when we're in heaven, we will be like the angels, neither married nor given in marriage. That's exactly what's happening here, though, in Genesis 6, is they are being given in marriage. Whereas Jesus says that's not possible, because we are like the angels. So these cannot be angels or fallen angels. Just no. It's pretty extraordinary to think that. I'd love to hear any other thoughts or any other rebuttals to that and proof that these are demons. But as it stands, my understanding of the Nephilim is just simply that they're violent men that are the product of forbidden unions between Christians and non-Christians.